Last time we worked on the trigger, the importance of the trigger and how you recognise it and commit to it. But then what does the trigger produce? And what we're going to look in this video is how we recognise the reaction to the trigger in the form of our movement with the golf club. How do we recognise the swing? And so when I said movement with the golf club, that was intentional because I'm talking about the body. What's the body's movement with the golf club? Are we recognising what we do? And then when we introduce the golf club, just let the golf swing react in a recognisable way because we're familiar with the action the body's making. It doesn't suddenly change into something that's unfamiliar just by putting the club in our hands and suddenly the swing's not the same anymore. We've got to recognise what essentially is our blueprint body movement with or without the golf club. So we're equally comfortable with or without it. We recognise our movement. We can even practice this indoors. And this is what I suggest you do, is once you've got a feel for this trigger, is how do we react with that to rebound in the backswing? Well, at the heart of the whole training system is walking. And it's the rebounding walking that we're going to look at. And there's no funnier walk than you've probably seen than Conor McGregor. And that may look like one crazy walk, and it is. Obviously it's extremely exaggerated. But what he's actually doing is he's just exaggerating the forces with his upper body that are being created from the lower body. And he's just transferring them through and accentuating them. And we can actually learn a lot from this and use that imagery in our mind and actually practice this type of movement to explore the ranges that we're going to probably use in a golf swing, which are recruiting the same horizontal, rotation and vertical forces that we talked about in the trigger. So we can actually recognise how the body responds with its rotation, its shift and its vertical. So let's talk about the gait cycle. Let's talk about walking. As we walk forward, we put one leg forward and we rotate. Now if we were to exaggerate that rotation and let the torso continue and let the torso throw the arm forward, it might look something like this. We're also starting to not only rotate, we're accelerating. We're accelerating our body mass this way with the rotation. This throws the arm. And then what we do is we push off the rear leg and that brings us back and rotates us back this way. So we rotate this way and then as we walk in, so we walk and it rotates us back. The propulsion of this rotates the pelvis back, rotates the torso, swings the arm back. So we're using momentum in this direction, in the linear direction, and transferring it through the body as angular momentum, and we're letting those rotations just sequence naturally and swing the arms. So ultimately, we're transferring force through spine mechanics, but it's the walking that's rotating the spine. So here we can recognise how the upper body should be reacting. Notice as well when we walk in a straight line. So there's no deviation. So if you think we're rotating here around a centred point. So in a golf swing, people talk about being centred, but we never think about walking being centred, yet we're walking in a straight line. But our body's moving from side to side, it's rotating. The arms are swinging, but we're going in a straight line. Ultimately, we're staying, if you like, in balance. So to do that in a golf swing, we've got to allow our body to rotate, if you like, around what we might perceive to be our centre of balance. That's super important, maintaining dynamic stability. And that is, in essence, what underpins it, the dynamism. And what we're recognising here is what are the dynamics? It's the rotations and the forces that go with those rotations, which are being amplified from the ground through the push-in. And what happens then is, as we rotate and push, we actually transfer our body weight across into the other leg. So now I'm pressuring the ground through the right foot, ready to push and come back. So we're actually shifting, we're transferring weight from side to side. It's the same as a golf swing, and we're doing it in a very balanced, centred way. So Conor McGregor is actually probably a good image to have in your mind because it's not that far away from what very efficient rotation and lateral movement probably looks like. For example, this. So he's walking and he's exaggerating his movements. A bit like Liam Gallagher or someone like that if you're English and you follow Oasis back in the day. The Manc walk, okay? Walking, and it's big rotations. It's a swagger, if you like. It's a swagger. and letting the rotations take over. But to do that, we've got to feel it from the ground. So there's a pushing in the opposite direction. There's a rotation. And there's an excessive, if you like, rotation of the upper body, which results in the arms swinging. Notice the arms are being swung forward and back, not side to side. They're not doing this. They're doing this. We can actually start to speed it up. If we want to speed it up, we won't speed it up from here. We'll speed it up from the ground through the pelvis. So there's a lot more force now being recruited for the system to transfer through to the arms. We're generating a lot more force and we're transferring it a lot more efficiently, very quickly. So if I wanted to explore my backswing, let's think about the rebound. So think about rotating that way first. This in effect would be our trigger. That would be the trigger to go back. Notice my trail arm, my right arm swinging forward, left arm just swings back as a reaction to the torso rotating. We're not guiding this rotation with the arms. If you find this is difficult to coordinate, you've probably been swinging and trying to control your arms during the golf swing throughout your golfing life, and the body's recognising this as how to move with a golf club. What it does is it creates a map, if you like, a schema that it utilises to swing a golf club. It's a schema to operate the body with. So it recognises tension in the arms to move the shoulders, to move the torso. Because that's how we do it in a golf swing. Yet if we can disassociate ourselves from that and just explore free movement, we can then start to simulate where we might be with a golf club in our hands, utilising this efficient sequence, and it might result in a more desirable, if you like, effective motion. So feeling the trigger, which is movement this way, to then rebound. And then we're going to recoil this way. And this is the golf swing. The trigger, the rebound, and then the follow through. So we've got trigger, backswing, follow through, trigger, rebound, rebound. And it's the McGregor. It's the McGregor walk. This is what it is. So picture that in your mind. Picture the swagger, that upper body swagger. This isn't swaying. This is not an imbalanced movement, because in walking, we'd be moving in a straight line, but excessively rotating. It will feel strange, but this is what we're doing in a golf swing. You can widen the stance, amplify the forces a bit. Let's go for the trigger first. That might be this. Then the rebound. So now look where the arms are. What I could do now is bring them together. What does it feel like to be in this place? This is an unrestricted, free-flowing sequence that's just resulted in my arms meeting somewhere in this space. Okay, and now what would the rebound be in the opposite direction to the target? Trigger, backswing, through swing. What would this be like? And then we can always carry on into a finish. So let's feel what that's going to be like with a rebound. Let's do it again. And then all the way through. So we can actually let the thing continue into a finish. And you can feel where this action takes you. It's very centred, it's transferring weight. Basically, it's using horizontal rotation and vertical in a very efficient way that the body recognises, because it's something we do every day. It's walking. This is primitive. This resonates with the mind. It knows how to do this. So if we just feed this into the system and think about how we'd implement this with a golf swing in our hands, give the body some information, you're going to start to feel now where this could take you. Because what we're doing really is we're recognising space. We're just recognising movement through space. We're recognising useful space and space that essentially is useless. We might be moving into space that's serving no purpose for a golf swing, only introducing potential error. If you were walking, you'd walk in a more efficient manner. You're not going to make arbitrary kind of unnecessary movements. You're going to walk where you need to go, and you're going to let your body operate naturally to do that. So in golf, we need to do the same thing, and we're using the same forces, just in a slightly different way. But we're sequencing and transferring momentum a very similar way, from the ground through to the torso, through to the arms, and then the club. So this is the reaction to the trigger. You've created the forces, let the body react. So we're developing now some recognition, and we can reference where we would be in space. We can feel these places. has been helpful, useful, because that's where the body takes us naturally without any restriction or inhibition. And what's it like to follow through with a powerful rotation? Feel the rotation and then let yourself push off the back foot, let yourself spring off both feet and rotate into that finish. And see where it takes your arms, bring them together. And from here, straight into the backswing, and then through again. And then from the beginning, what's it like to introduce the trigger? And then go back and through. Starting to just familiarise ourselves with letting the body move by using the forces we've created from the trigger and letting them continue. It's like a row of dominoes we've just set off, and now we're recognising the whole journey. And it's all done through the walking exercise. So YouTube Conor McGregor, have a look at his walk, get practicing in front of the mirror, and you'll notice how very little side-to-side motion there is. Of course there is lateral motion, but it's not dysfunctional sway, it's very functional sway to encourage the rebound. And in a golf swing, when we expand this movement, the rotation and the continuation of that rotation actually centres us more. I'm not going over here. Because of the shape of the rib cage, if you like, the shape of the torso, as you rotate, it's going to serve here with the forces we're using to rebound, to send us in this direction. So ultimately, it's, if you like, recentering the body. So don't be afraid of losing balance. The more you allow yourself to use the McGregor, the more you allow yourself to react to this with the torso, the more you're actually stabilising yourself for the rebound. And that really is now letting go and letting everything react, because we're going to a place we recognise in the finish. And this is safe. The body recognises it. It's going to let you go there at speed. So explore it. Make sure there's no chandeliers around. Make sure you're not going to be whacking people around with the arms flinging. Use a mirror for awareness, because often what we think we're doing and what we're actually doing are two different things. And we might end up rotating like this and thinking that's okay. It's not. The arms must be swinging away from the body when you're rotating. They're not swinging with the body. That's real key. So we can disassociate shoulder mobility from torso mobility, so we can sequence through the chain. Or we can use the feet, the ankles, the legs, the pelvis to create those forces for this torso to react. And that's the reaction to the trigger.
Thought you'd go, but you didn't, so I'm sitting here. Thought I heard my phone ring, but